People once thought the Earth was the center of the universe and everything revolved around it. That's because when they looked up in the sky, the sun and the stars all appeared to be moving around the Earth. A nice idea, but appearances can be deceiving. Today we know that the Earth revolves around what?
Miss Winkle, as everybody knows, I am the center of the universe.
No, Polly, that's not right. The Polish astronomer Copernicus made an earth-shaking discovery in 1531. He discovered that the sun only seemed to be moving around the Earth. It was really the Earth that moved around the sun. During the ancient Olympic Games, all wars would come to a stop and a truce would be called for 3 months. That gave the soldiers enough time to travel to the Games, compete, and then return home to continue fighting. What did athletes at the ancient Olympics get for winning?
A prize that would make anyone run faster and jump higher, a bouquet of flowers and a diamond tiara. Here I am, Miss Olympic Games.
No, Polly, the winners at the ancient Olympics weren't treated like beauty queens. The prize was a crown made out of laurel wreaths. When an athlete returned home, a life-size statue was erected in his honor, and he was treated to free meals for life. Baseball games usually take 2.5 hours, but only 8 minutes of that time is action. That's a lot of waiting around. It's no wonder that basketball, not baseball, is watched by more people in America than any other sport. Baseball was invented in the summer. Why do you think basketball was invented during the winter?
This is an easy one, Miss Winkle. Basketball was invented in winter to give snowmen something to play. I mean, think about it. Whose life is more boring than a snowman's? All they do is stand around waiting to melt.
Oh, don't be silly, Polly. Snowmen can't play basketball. James Naismith invented the indoor sport basketball in winter because it was too cold to play outside. Magicians used to be in charge of curing the sick. If you were sick, you had magic performed on you to make you healthy again. Today, if you get sick, you go to the doctor, not to the magician. Thank goodness times have changed. When you get sick, the role of a doctor is to figure out what's wrong with you and then prescribe the treatment necessary to get you better. What's the role of a nurse?
Since the thing that never fails to make me feel better is cake and ice cream, I guess that's what nurses give their patients. Ice cream and cake. Medicine like that makes you feel better instantly.
No, Polly, but what a sweet idea. Nurses are in charge of feeding, washing, and treating the patient. These days, nurses are so well trained in science, in many cases, they can diagnose illness just like doctors. 2/3 of the surface of the Earth we never see. It's covered by water. Drain the oceans and you'd see mountain ranges, canyons, plains, even volcanoes. You can't drain the oceans, but you can become a scuba diver and find out what you're missing. Why was scuba diving invented?
Well, Miss Winkle, everybody knows that high diving boards can be really, really high. At such high altitudes, there's not even enough oxygen for breathing. Scuba gear was invented so that people can breathe while swan diving off high diving boards.
Silly swan! Scuba was invented so that undersea explorers could swim freely underwater. Scuba stands for Self-Contained Underwater Breathing Apparatus. Before scuba, air was pumped to the diver from a hose attached to the ship. Call it a chopper, an egg beater, or a whirlybird. Just don't call it late for dinner. Seriously, this aircraft is a good example of an invention that came way before its time. The idea for the helicopter was thought up long before it was built. A helicopter is an aircraft that's lifted into the sky by 1 or 2 powerful whirling rotors. Why didn't the person who first invented the helicopter build one?
Well, you see, Miss Winkle, it happened like this. The inventor of the helicopter was eating a delicious spaghetti dinner when all of a sudden, out of nowhere, someone came in and spilled sauce all over his designs. I think it was a rival inventor.
Oh, don't get saucy with me, Polly. You know very well that the Italian artist and inventor Leonardo da Vinci came up with the idea of the helicopter in 1483. But that was centuries before anyone invented an engine powerful enough to fly one. An empty stomach doesn't make you hungry. We get hungry only when the brain's hunger center notices there's not enough food in our bloodstream. That's why you're supposed to eat your breakfast even if you don't feel hungry. You've got to get food into your bloodstream. Everyone knows that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. What was the first breakfast cereal made from?
The first cold cereal, Miss Winkle, was made with ice cream to keep it cold. For flavor, they added some cold water salmon. On top of that, they put the pièce de résistance, frozen worms. The worms gave the salmon something to eat.
Oh my, what imaginative taste buds you have, Polly. But the truth is, the first cold cereal was made from toasted corn. Corn Flakes took the world by storm and is still one of the most popular cereals in the world. Years ago, a painter invented a glow-in-the-dark paint called Undark. Glow-in-the-dark objects soon became all the rage, but the craze ended when people started getting sick. Undark was made from radium, you see, and no one realized that radium was poisonous. What makes radium glow?
What makes anything light up, Miss Winkle? Batteries, of course. Radium comes complete with AA batteries. Otherwise, it just doesn't work.
Polly, that's a nice idea. Too bad it isn't true. Fact is, radium is a radioactive substance. The same thing that makes it glow makes people sick. Radium is no longer used for making glow-in-the-dark objects. As everyone knows, you can't blow decent bubbles with regular chewing gum. That's because bubble gum has more of the stuff that makes chewing gum chewy. It stretches more than regular gum, and that lets you blow big bubbles. Oh, but don't you try it in my class. What was the first chewing gum made from?
I'd love it if the whole world popped superglue into their mouths and started to chew. I'd be the only one left who could talk. Everyone would have to listen to me.
That's silly, Polly. You can't chew glue. At least it's not a good idea. The first chewing gum was made from a resin found in the bark of a tree. It's strange but true. Ancient cultures such as the Mayans were chewing gum centuries and centuries ago. Since the beginning of time, many painters have used walls as their canvas. In fact, two of the world's most famous painters got together to paint the walls of a splendid house in Italy. Too bad Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci couldn't get along. They never finished the project. The world's very first painting was done on a wall. What was the painting of?
The first painting probably wasn't very sophisticated. I bet it was one of those sad clowns on black velvet. I love those paintings. They make me want to cry.
A sad clown? You deserve a pie in the face for that one. Oh, no. The first scenes painted were hunting scenes. The paintings were very primitive, of course, because painting is a skill that took thousands of years to develop. No one knows what Abe Lincoln's voice sounded like. George Washington's voice will never be heard again. And the shot heard round the world? It echoes no more. There was nothing to record those sounds, and that's why history is silent. My question to you is this. What was the first recorded sound?
The first record had the coolest heavy metal guitar riff I've ever heard. That baby was singing.
Oh, I should think not, Polly. Thomas Edison recorded the first sounds ever. It was Mary Had a Little Lamb, one of the sweetest lyrics ever penned. It took humans most of their history to learn the simple art of making paper. It's so simple, in fact, that wasps were making paper millions of years before humans even appeared. Wasps create pulp from wood and use it to create paper nests. What was the world's first man-made paper used for?
I bet the world's first paper was used to make paper airplanes. No, that's not it. Paper polydolls. No, that's not it. Oh, I've got it. The world's first paper was used for making spitballs. Wait, it's all those things. That's it.
No, Polly, but I can see where you came up with that answer. You're such a brilliant spitball shooter. The world's first paper was made in ancient China. It was used as packing material, clothing, and for personal hygiene long before people wrote on it. Sailors once lived in great dread of accidentally sailing off the ends of the earth. They thought the earth was flat and that you could fall right off it. For centuries, people wondered what the shape of the earth was. How did people prove once and for all that the earth was round?
How else could you prove the earth was round except by taking a giant leap into space to see the whole planet and taking a picture from the moon? As everyone knows, you need a rocket for that.
No, Polly. People knew the earth was round centuries before rockets were invented. People guessed it was round for many years before Magellan's ship sailed round the entire planet and proved it for sure once and for all. The world's first dynamite factory was so dangerous that authorities moved it to a barge in the middle of a lake. Dynamite, you see, is made from nitroglycerin, a substance that's so explosive, even a slight movement can make it go kablooey. Explosives can be deadly, and they can be useful. Dynamite was first invented for what purpose?
Sure, explosives can be useful or deadly, but you forgot something else about explosives, Miss Winkle. Explosives can be fun. Take exploding cigars. They crack me up. They really crack me up. Dynamite was a great invention for practical jokers.
Oh, close, Polly, but no cigar. Dynamite was invented by Alfred Nobel in 1866 as a safe explosive for tunneling and mining. Nobel was so angry when armies started using dynamite to wage war, he funded the Nobel Peace Prize to help end war once and for all. The word microscope is from Greek. It means watcher of the small. A microscope is an instrument used to see things that are invisible to the naked eye. The invention of the microscope revealed a whole new world, a world beyond people's wildest imagination. What was seen through the lens of the world's first microscope?
The tiny creatures thought they were invisible, so they'd take baths whenever they wanted, never guessing that someone might be looking at them. Well, the first person to look through a microscope caught a tiny creature in the bath, buck naked.
Yet another creative guess from Polly. Wrong, but creative. In any case, the world's first microscopes were used to look at creatures like fleas and bacteria. These were too small to study with the naked eye. The invention of writing was the stuff of legend for ancient people. The Chinese, for example, believed it was a gift to Emperor Yu from the magic tortoise he saved from drowning. Today's archaeologists tell a different story about the invention of writing. What did people first write on?
They wrote on what everybody writes on, Miss Winkle. Word processors, of course.
It's a nice idea, Polly, to think of ancient people with computers, but the truth is even more amazing. The Sumerians were the first to develop writing. They carved the cuneiforms into wet clay tablets and waited for them to dry. Bologna, frankfurters, wieners, and salami. They're all types of sausage. Sausage is a mixture of flavorful meat that's wrapped in a casing and cooked. And that's no bologna. What was the outside of the world's first sausage made of?
Daddy's mother put everything she had into making her homemade sausages. They were so odoriferous. Daddy used to say they tasted like her old socks. So I guess that's what sausages are made with. Old socks.
I'm sorry, Polly. Sausage was being made for centuries before the invention of socks. Sausage is made from the intestines of animals. If you try to trace the invention of the bicycle back to its very beginnings, you run into a bit of trouble. The ancient Egyptians built two-wheeled contraptions out of wood, but no one knows for sure if they used them as bikes. The Egyptian bikes had no pedals, and neither did the first modern bikes. So, how were the first modern bicycles powered?
Who needs pedals when you've got jet engines on your bike? The jet engine bicycle was so totally cool that they invented pedal bikes on purpose because parents could never catch their children at dinner time.
No, Polly, but that's an interesting guess. The first bike was called a draisine, after the inventor Baron von Dreis. You propelled it by kicking your feet one after another. King George IV of England loved riding one. The world's first vehicle was nothing but a plank of wood dragged behind an ox. The invention of the wheel changed history forever because it turned that sluggish sled into a swift cart. But the first wheel wasn't invented for moving people. What was the first wheel used for?
Obviously, Miss Winkle, to drive around, you first need something to steer with. Ipso facto, therefore, ergo, the steering wheel had to come first. True, Miss Winkle?
You got a flat tire on that question, Polly. Truth is, the first wheel was probably invented not for transportation, but for making pottery. The potter's wheel allowed the Sumerians to spin pots into perfectly round shapes. Wheeled carts soon followed. Today, when we drink milk, we usually drink cow's milk. But the world's first milk drinkers probably drank milk from goats. Goat's milk and even buffalo milk are still popular in countries all around the world. What makes milk safe to drink?
To make things safe to eat, you often have to heat them. You wash your hands with hot water before eating, right? So, just before milking, the farmer heats the cows gently. That way, the milk that comes out of them is safe to drink.
Polly, you silly Billy. Why heat the whole cow when you can simply heat the milk? Louis Pasteur discovered a way to kill germs through pasteurization, and in the process made milk and other foods safe for human consumption. One of the oldest and most peculiar inventions of all time is the boomerang. A boomerang is hardly more than a curved stick, but it puzzled scientists for many years. Nobody could explain why it returns to the person who throws it in the air. The people who made the first boomerang didn't know why it worked. They only knew that it worked. What was the first boomerang used for?
It's a sad fact of history, Miss Winkle, but the world's first mailman was a lazy fellow. He was sick of making his rounds, so he figured out a way to attach the letters to a boomerang. That way he could deliver the mail without leaving his house.
No, Polly. The boomerang was invented ages before the postal system was set up. It was developed by Aborigines in Australia around 40,000 years ago as a tool for hunting. Other cultures invented boomerangs too, even the Hopi Indians of Arizona. Money's the most fascinating invention of all time. Before money, people used the barter system. If you wanted a loaf of bread, you had to give the bread maker something you made in exchange. But if he didn't want what you made, well, you didn't get your bread. The world's first money were coins. Why were coins invented?
Oh, coins were necessary, you see, because people wanted to get candy bars out of candy machines, and everyone knows that you need coins for that, and the early machines didn't take bills.
Oh, Polly, of course that's not true. Vending machines were invented long after coins. In the barter system, if you didn't make anything the bread maker could use, you didn't get your bread. Since everyone could use coins, coins made buying and selling easier. Some people claim that human beings are the only animals who use tools. Plenty of animals use tools. Horses have been known to pick up a stick to scratch their backs, and chimpanzees use sticks to fish for termites hidden deep inside logs. What were mankind's first tools used for?
The first tools were hammers, screwdrivers, and wrenches. After all, people needed something to fix their televisions with.
Polly, there were no televisions in prehistoric times. The simple tools that people first developed were used for eating. People didn't have the sharp teeth of other animals. Tools were needed for things like breaking shells open and cutting meat. In Greek myth, Pan invented the first musical instrument. One day along the banks of a river, Pan sighed a long sigh. His breath produced a sad sound as it passed through the reeds that grew along the river. With the reeds, he made a shepherd's pipe. There are countless musical instruments throughout the world. What kind of instrument is the saxophone?
A saxophone, eh? Well, it's electric, and you bang on it with sticks. And it's really, really big. Yes, that big electric drum-like thing that has always been one of my very favorite instruments. I adore Beethoven's Saxophone Symphony No. 3, don't you?
Oh, sorry, Polly, but you're marching to a different drummer. A saxophone is a single-reed wind instrument, usually made from brass. The sax is most often associated with jazz music. It makes some of the saddest sounds in music, and some of the jazziest. How's this for a throne? The world's first flushing toilet was invented 400 years ago for Queen Elizabeth I of England. Elizabeth liked the invention, but not the inventor. They had a fight, and he was banished from the kingdom. Talk about a royal flush. The first toilets were invented long before Queen Elizabeth sat on her throne. How did the world's first toilets flush?
Well, Miss Winkle, early toilets had no place to send waste, so the inventor decided to just obliterate the whole mess. You pushed a button, and it exploded. Clean, simple, and sanitary.
A visually interesting response, Polly. But no, the first toilets didn't explode. They were built near the seashore on the island of Crete. When the tides came in, nature did the flushing automatically.